Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Classical Climb series. This is day 2. If you haven't watched the first video, go watch that before you continue on the series. This will be in the playlist, but let's continue. We're on day 2. We won our very first game. Sorry, I did this little spoiler there for those that kept on watching. But we head into our second day. And I did this earlier today. In fact, I am an absolute madman. I woke up pretty late because I had a late time to go to bed. Did this game and then went to work. Did an 8-hour shift and then came back and now I'm recording. So if this video comes out early in the morning for me or for any of my audience in Canada or for wherever you at, just know that it's like 10 o'clock at night. And yeah, now I'm recording. So this is day 2 of my journey to whatever classical rating I get before I get my title. So let's get into the game. We are 1884 and our opponent is 1899. And this is all lead chess based, by the way. I just transferred it to chess.com because, analysis is already set up through my OBS. And yeah, let's get into the game. We get a Sicilian. And after a close Sicilian, I like to play the Grand Prix. And basically in the Grand Prix, I like the idea of going like knight f3 and then bishop here and then queen to e1 and go for an attack. But that's not, what I can always get, and that's what I not always expect. And basically, you have to adapt to how your opponent plays. And my opponent plays the fianchetto, so when they do this, accelerated dragon idea, that's when you can do like, go for the attack if they play the right moves and, play pretty positionally. I go knight to f3, he goes bishop there, and then I go bishop to b5, and this is all theory. And my opponent plays the best move in the position, which is knight to d4, which is all theory as well, attacking the bishop and basically saying, hey, your bishop is kind of looking stupid there, and I'm going to exchange it and then kick out your knight with a6. So I just castle because there's nothing I can do. He could just leave my bishop there. He can already start kicking it out, or he can take it and he just takes the bishop. I take it with a knight. And then he plays a very weird move. Usually the idea is to go a6 and then strike it with b5, in which you continue, your development with queen e1. But my opponent plays d5, and I don't think I've seen this. And I was like, all my theory went out the window after this, and I was like, shoot, what do I do? I can already start playing the move e5, which I know in certain situations when they don't play whatever the usual Grand Prix in where white can go for a massive attack, you just play simply. But I didn't want to overextend the pawn, and sometimes that usually happens if white is not careful with their pieces, or if black doesn't play their pieces right and go and get this massive, black pawn wall on the queen side. So that's kind of what black wants. But I was like, you know what, just play, solidly. So I could play d3, which is a simply reasonable move. a6, knight back. And then he plays d4. And when I saw this, I was like, this is not it. Just go knight back, right? And now my idea is to bring my knight and reroute it to g3. He plays e6, and I was like, okay, all good. Now I can just reroute my knight to g3, and I'm good to go. So I do that. There is a crazy move in this position while I was analyzing this game, and that's the move b4, which to the untrained eye looks absolutely ludicrous, but he's so genius. Stockfish is an absolute savage, basically just wants to destroy this pawn structure, like give it no space, no room. Because this pawn can't go here because it's controlled by the knight and the pawn. Um, this is now weak, and b5 is so wrong. And I was like, dang, that's insane. Like with the new stock for 17, this is like amazing. So I thought I'd just show you that idea. But I play knight to g3 simply just, playing a normal developing move, bringing my knight to the other side of the board and possibly start an attack, maybe playing f5 in the future or e5 and just shutting down this bishop entirely. He goes knight to e7. I go queen e1, and then he plays b5. And already the computer likes different pawn moves, like a4, which I did think about, but I didn't like that because you can just play b4 and just clamp my entire pawn structure on these b and c pawns. And there's another move too, which I nothing. It didn't make sense, but computer likes h4. And looking at that, it's like, why would you want to move a pawn that's defended by the king and like hidden? Like, okay, I understand go for the attack and play for h5, but it just seemed unconventional. And in closed positions, I like to keep a solid position. So I was like, okay, well that's fine. I'm gonna play e5 now because I thought that this was a perfect time. Now that he went here on the queen side, might as well have my control on his king side. And then basically just put this bishop in jail. You can't break out because even if you try to exchange, now this rook file is open and there can be some really nasty ideas. He goes bishop to b7, which is a good move, and I start to think. I'm like, okay, now I don't really have any good moves. And I think it's time to, bring my knight into the game that I had reroute from here and put it on a very dominating square. So I go knight to e4, and I love this move. The thing is that it can be captured, and you have to take back. But in this position, I take back with the wrong piece. I thought this was a very fine move because I'm developing the queen, but it wants me to play pawn takes. But this looks really unnatural for me, at least, and I don't like these double center pawns. Like, okay, they may control a lot, but now I just opened up this entire d file, and I'm not ready to do that. Like, that's just not human to play d takes e4. Well, for me, maybe at the highest level, it's totally reasonable because you can control these squares as well. But for me, I didn't think about that, and I just said, you know what, take here and develop a queen. But my opponent plays h5, totally reasonable, playing to go h4 and h3 and undermine this g pawn. But I just, continue with normal stuff, and I play knight here, and I really like this knight move because it really just starts asking questions like, are you castling this way? If you do, I'm going to start an attack. I may play f5 if you're not careful. And I guess this kind of spooked my opponent because he plays knight to f5, which is the first terrible move in the position. Why? Well, it covered this square, and that's kind of important. This pawn is backwards. So, first of all, I was like, okay, go for the attack. Queen check first. Now you can no longer castle. If you play queen d7, there's simply just queen takes rook. And you're completely lost. And yeah, you have to figure something out. The best move is king to e7, but that just looks absolutely ludicrous. I mean, no one's playing that. I would play this. It's a more natural move. But he plays that, the natural move, and the move to win, according to the computer, that will give it a solid advantage is a4 now. But to me, that a4, why would you delay a move when you can just simply take a pawn in with check? So I take the pawn with check, but now my advantage is kind of gone, which I kind of found interesting. But it makes sense now. because king to g8 and your king is safe. There's no attack, and now black is kind of back into the game. Yes, you can't castle, but you can manually castle, and everything is fine. But I was like, I'm up a pawn. If as long as I'm up a pawn in close positions, I'm fine. Yes, I do like to play boring style chess, but what can I say? Rook to f2. The reason why I played rook to f2 is to guard this pawn. I was expecting rook c8 at any time, and I did not want to lose this very important pawn. I've lost games where I lose this pawn. In fact, let's say if I play, a4 now. Now there's rook c8, and I thought, oh man, this is not good. But I guess rook c8 is kind of a fake threat because I have queen a7, which never crossed my mind. I thought about this in the future to, attack this pawn, but I thought, wait, what about here? Nothing makes sense. But I guess it's so killer because let's say rook takes, like you go bishop here and rook takes, then there's rook c1, and then you basically own the file because you can't take the bishop because this rook would be absolutely crucial. So, I guess, the more you learn. I thought this open file was completely dominating for black, but I clearly underestimated my position. And so, in this position, I did play rook f2 because I thought simply reasonable, defends the pawn, and I don't get this threat anymore. He does go rook c8, which is bad, and now I'm like, okay, that pawn is defended. Now strike with queen a7, and now it attacks the weak pawn and also collects another pawn as well. And now I'm in the driver's seat. So what do we need next? Well, there's queen here. I thought about, okay, well, I can take here, but there's pressure on this pawn, so I was like, well, I'm up a pawn. I guess there's this and this, which are the most forcing moves. But I decided to play the worst of the two moves and just take the queen. I guess it just said, okay, just pick up the pawn and pick up the pawn, but I was like, well, I'm already up a pawn, so why complicate a position that, you think you're better in, so just take the queen. So I thought, simple, it's reasonable, and in certain situations, I didn't want to get greedy, right? I just wanted to play simple chess and just continue on. So queen takes, queens are off the board, and then I play b3, and b3 is kind of a way to stop like any, attack of these minor pawns, and basically I'm just kind of waiting for the move to play, bishop b here and collect this pawn, maybe in the future, or play d2, bishop d2, but that also blocks, protection of this weak pawn. He plays bishop to h6, totally reasonable. And I was like, okay, well, I don't want separated pawns, kind of not the idea. And he's already got rook c5, so I was like, okay, well, I guess we have to figure something out. So took a little bit of time to actually look at this, and I played knight f3. Just seems super reasonable. It's funny because Stockfish says, oh, it's a mistake because of h4, which makes, I guess it kind of makes sense to play, h3 and undermine the pawn structure, But my opponent, I don't know what they were thinking. Maybe they thought, oh, this is a free pawn. I guess they forgot my bishop was there and just took the pawn. And I was like, what? It was just so confused. I was like, okay, that's just a free bishop. So there you go. I'm winning. But thankfully, my opponent kept on playing. They didn't give up. They played king to g7, which is a totally legit move. But I was like, okay, you play king to g7. That's kind of I thought it was a waste because I have bishop g5. And now I'm threatening, this nice skewer. He goes rook here. I go rook c1, basically protecting this weak pawn. This is kind of the crucial part of the position that I need to, protect. Now, you're probably thinking, what about knight e3, protected by this pawn? Well, kind of doesn't work because I have a knight takes d4. So, he goes rook here, totally reasonable. I play h3. Why? Because basically I want to get rid of this knight, of him protecting his pawn. And that's kind of the only idea I have in this position because everything is kind of closed and there's nothing you can really do. You know, I also thought of the idea of like, oh, what if he takes here? Well, actually, that's just a free rook I can take if he takes back. This bishop from way out north can just slide in and take it. So I was like, okay, h3, g4. Makes sense, right? Continue with the idea. He moves. I take the pawn. And now this is defended. 3 different ways. And if you take, I'm just up the exchange. So, yeah, I'm in great position. Also, this knight is under attack. So, he's got to move. Takes that free pawn. And I was like, okay, well, this is under attack. I thought about, yeah, knight takes e6. But after knight takes e6, there's simply just, is he king here? Yeah, I thought there was king here. And I was like, wait, I just sacked my own piece. And, now I thought it was worse. But I guess there's just like rook g2, and after takes, then we're fine. But at first I only got here, and I was like, oh, that king move just destroys, and this 3-piece pawn that I thought I had, it's no longer valid. So I was like, okay, never mind. I kind of discarded the idea, which I'm glad, and just played simply rook to e2. Just keep it simple. Just defend the pawn, and don't let these pawns go anywhere. This bishop is absolute powerhouse, taking all the dark squares away. He plays rook to c5. And then I realized, wait, what the heck? Why would you play rook c5? This rook is kind of in trouble now. And indeed it was. And I've had a very nice move that wins the game even more. Bishop to d2. And this rook is completely trapped. And now I thought, oh, he must resign, right? What? No. Just kept on playing. Couple exchanges. Played bishop to g5. And now my idea is to control all the dark squares so that the king can't go anywhere and deliver some sort of checkmate. And that happened. He played here. I played bishop to f6. And it's game over. Because anywhere the knight moves, it's over. Or anywhere the king moves, like the only move to survive is king e8, but I just have rook c7, and I can still deliver checkmate with a knight and a bishop, and these 3 pieces. But I guess he thought, oh, I can just run away this way. But you can't do that. Because of how weak this king is, and how dominating this bishop is for the dark squares, rook check wins the game. There's king h7, rook mate. That was the game. Now, you're probably thinking, well, that was pretty easy. I could have done that myself. Well, no, not really. He gave a good fight. And, he was decently strong, but just forgot about this, piece that was protected by my bishop. Happens to the best of us, but, I played a very nice game. Didn't let him take me on the pressure. Yes, he has, 5 pawns to my 2, but I'm up 3 major pieces. So, yeah, it was really great. It was absolutely amazing. And if we go look at the analysis on how well I played, here it is. I played at a 94.6% accuracy. My opponent played at 82. And yeah, I had a very good, advantage from the start. They did say that I did make a mistake, yeah, with this knight move, which I don't get, but whatever. I thought it was completely reasonable, but I guess I had a better move, and I guess they wanted me to play here and go for check here and place my knight on a more active square. But other than that, that's day 2. I have 2 wins, 0 losses in the series so far, and hopefully I can make it to 2,000. I think I'm like 1,900 now. So we'll see you in the next video, which will be uploaded tomorrow. And yeah, thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Just like that. Crazy, right?